Scientists in Chile have unveiled dozens of fossils that they found in the country's Atacama Desert.
As the hot sun beat down on the arid landscape of the desert, a man stumbled upon an astonishing discovery. It was a plane hidden away from the world and forgotten by time. But as he approached the rusted metal shell, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. With a sense of trepidation, he peered inside, only to find that the plane was not as abandoned as it seemed. So what was in it? And out of nowhere, finding something strange is fascinating and shocking at the same time. So let's look at some of the strange things found in the middle of nowhere. Let's begin. On April 4th, 1943, members of the United States Army Air Corps flew a B-24D bomber with the moniker Lady B Goode as part of a mission to strike Italy. The jet was the only one of those involved in the mission that did not make it back to its home base in Libya. The authorities believe the plane had crashed somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea. There was a comprehensive search that was conducted, but no trace of the aircraft or its crew could be located. In 1958, a crew working for an oil survey exploration company was taking overhead photographs in the desert of Libya when they came across the plane. The plane had crashed, but because of the dry circumstances, the wreckage was in good condition. In 1960, the skeletal remains of 8 of the crew members were discovered scattered across the desert in a variety of locations. A diary written by the co-pilot, Robert Toner, was among the artifacts that were discovered with the dead. In it, he described how all 9 people bailed out before the disaster, with 8 of them surviving. After walking for 85 miles, 3 of the survivors continued to trek until they passed away, while the other 5 eventually gave up. There was no trace of gunner Vernon L. Moore's remains ever discovered. It is one of the oldest mysteries in the history of aviation. In the Atacama Desert in Chile, a large cemetery of baleen whales, often known as toothless whales, was discovered. These whales had no teeth, and according to the consensus of the scientific community, its origin may be traced back 10,000 years to a series of 4 distinct occurrences. Skeletons of the whales were found buried in ancient sandstones in the region of northern Chile that is close to the Pan-American Highway. It is speculated that the whales ingested toxic algae before being washed into the estuary, after which they were transported to the desert. The site was famed for being a graveyard for several old bones, but with the most recent finding of these fossils, it has turned out to be one of the richest fossil sites anywhere in the world. Cerro Balena, often known as Whale Hill. During building work being carried out on the heavily traveled Pan-American Highway, an unexpected find was made. Researchers in the fields of science and paleontology think that there could be other remains of extinct species buried underground. In 1945, when the Second World War finally concluded, one officer in the Imperial Japanese Army was utterly unaware of the event. Hiro Onoda, who passed away in 2014, remained concealed in the Philippine forest, dodging search expeditions because he was persuaded that they were enemy scouts until the Japanese government dispatched a delegation to meet him in 1974. This mission included his brother and his former commander. After being formally relieved of his duty and realizing that the war was over, he returned to Japan, where he was hailed as a hero for his unwavering devotion to the emperor and his obligation to fulfill those obligations. A shipwreck was found in the middle of the Namibian Desert, a location that is well known for being a center for diamond production. This particular location was known as a restricted territory at one point in time. However, a worker who was searching for diamonds made a discovery of gold that had been lost for about 500 years. The employees unearthed other additional components such as metals and pipes. In the end, archaeologists were brought in and excavation work was done at the site. Despite the absence of conclusive proof, researchers think that the name of the vessel was Bom Jesus, which can be translated as the Good Jesus. The ship, which originated in Portugal, vanished as it was sailing to India and was never seen again after it sank in the Atlantic Ocean. It is believed that the ship collided with a rock just before it started to break apart. The cargo on board included priceless diamonds in addition to other commodities such as swords and muskets. Because the relics date back to the 16th century, they are currently being maintained. However, the majority of the location, including the ship, is still accessible to the general public. Deserts are home to a wide variety of strange occurrences. If you've been keeping up with the most recent news, you may be aware that some people have discovered a gigantic skeleton in the middle of a desert in India. It is generally accepted that this skeleton dates back to ancient times and that it belonged to Gadotkak, who was Bhima's son. Even if there is no evidence to support this theory at this time, the discovery of this amid the desert is very strange. Although some of the things on this list unquestionably 100% exist, the evidence for some of the other things on this list is not exactly abundant, and this may be one of the things that falls into that latter category. Having said that, aren't all reports of UFOs at least a little bit speculative? In 2016, a strange object was spotted on satellite photographs buried inside the Amazon canopy in the state of Rondônia in Brazil. This led some viewers to speculate that its origins and explanation could be extraterrestrial. The shiny orbs were discovered by a viewer who was looking through Google Maps, according to a member of the UFO investigation team, Secure Team 10. In addition, he mentioned that the Amazon jungle has a history of alleged UFO sightings. Taquare Park, located in the province of Misiones in Argentina, is home to a mysterious sanctuary that is thought to be the ruins of a top-secret shelter from World War II. According to The Guardian, archaeologists researching the site in 2015 discovered 5 German coins minted between 1938 and 1941, and a shard of porcelain with the phrase, "Made in Germany." The leader of the study team, Daniel Schalvolson, told the newspaper that the Germans had a secret project to build shelters for top leaders if they were defeated. Inaccessible sites in the middle of deserts, in the mountains, on a cliff, or in the middle of the jungle like this. It is thought that these particular hiding places have never been put to use by anyone. The vertical peak of Sigiriya is approximately 180 meters in height and rises out of the surrounding jungle. The imposing rock is home to the remains of an ancient civilization that dates back to the 5th century and is believed to have served as the thriving center of the fleeting kingdom of Cassapa. Beautiful frescoes, staircases carved into the stone, and what's left of a royal palace may all be seen on the granite rock that sits at the center of the city's ruins. It is hardly surprising that such a spectacular location is one of the most popular tourist destinations in Sri Lanka. Indigenous peoples of Honduras have been telling stories about a paradise known as the White House for hundreds of years. In this paradise, local tribespeople sought safety from conquistadors. In 2015, an expedition team may have uncovered the White City, also known in legend as the City of the Monkey God. According to National Geographic, the ruins were uncovered for the first time in May 2012 by an aerial survey of the remote La Mosquita Valley. Since then, archaeologists have uncovered plazas, earthworks, and even a pyramid that belonged to a civilization that was almost unknown at the time it existed, approximately 1,000 years ago. Giant stone balls may be found all around the Diquis Delta region of Costa Rica. According to the findings of scientists, these mysterious stone spheres were most likely made around the year 600 AD. There are over 300 of these spheres that are known to exist, with the largest having a diameter of 8 feet and weighing a staggering 16 tons. According to Science Daily, no one truly understands why they are there. Although reports of the balls date back to the late 19th century, it wasn't until the 1930s that they became the focus of scientific inquiry. They were also the source of inspiration for the enormous stone ball that nearly squashes Indiana Jones in the opening sequence of the film Raiders of the Lost Ark. Every location is said to have its own unique set of native mythical beasts, and the Maracoxi are practically the equivalent of the Bigfoot in South America. It has been said that these humanoid apes are enormous, standing at a height of approximately 12 feet. The explorer Colonel Percy Fawcett, who later vanished under strange circumstances, is said to have reported that these animals were unable to speak in any other way than grunts, yet they were sophisticated enough to threaten his company with bows and arrows. In the book that the colonel wrote, called Lost Trails, Lost Cities, he relates an incident in which he and his men came dangerously close to being attacked by some creatures, but the beasts fled in fright when the men opened fire on them. It is widely held in Guatemalan lore that the country's dense jungles were once home to a peculiar huge stone head. The fact that this skull was supposed to be ancient but its features looked Caucasian, which would be weirdly discordant with any of the pre-Hispanic peoples that lived in the area around the time it was thought to have been carved, was what made this head so unique. According to ancient origins, this puzzling discovery was first brought to the attention of Dr. Oscar Rafael Padilla Lara in 1987 through the medium of a photograph. The photo, which appeared to have been taken in the 1950s, appeared to be genuine. Nevertheless, by the time Dr. Padilla visited the monolith, it had purportedly been destroyed by anti-government rebels. The jury is still debating whether or not this is a hoax. In either case, it brings up a great deal of intriguing questions. Dogs were found mummified in vast numbers in the catacomb ceiling at Saqqara in Egypt. Anubis, the Egyptian god of the afterlife, was portrayed as a jackal. The ceiling of the catacomb near his shrine is covered with the fossils of a sea monster that lived 48 million years ago, a marine vertebrate. The catacomb was constructed by ancient Egyptians in the city of Memphis as a shrine to the god. Animal breeders frequently engaged in the practice of cultivating canine species with the express purpose of selling them to those who intended to use them as sacrifices. Once mummified, these creatures were thought to have delivered messages and prayers to the god Anubis. From 747 BCE to the Roman conquest in 30 BCE, animal cults like those practiced in Saqqara were widespread. Most people joined those groups because of the way they portrayed national pride. That's all for the video today, but we'll be right back with more soon. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.